Welcome to the Spirits Operator podcast. I'm your host, Mary B. Here we navigate the ethereal currents between the mystical and the mundane. Join us as we embark on a journey to unravel the mysteries of healing, metaphysics, and the extraordinary, guiding you through a realm where spirituality meets everyday life. Get ready to explore the unseen forces that shape our world and discover how to harness their power for personal growth and transformation. Welcome aboard, fellow travelers, as we embark on this captivating adventure together. Welcome to Spirits Operator Podcast, where today we delve into the mysteries of alternative healing and consciousness expansion. I'm your host, Mary B., and we're honored to have Mahala as our guest today. So Mahala is a small business owner of Blue Heron Healing Arts in Pensacola, Florida. She offers massage therapy and natural aesthetics with a healing approach. She's a licensed massage therapist, esthetician, 200-hour registered yoga instructor, Rainbow Kids Yoga certified yoga instructor, Reiki practitioner, and QHHT, which is quantum healing hypnosis technique, level 1 practitioner, and beyond quantum healing practitioner. She also offers intuitive services with her offerings. Mahala is a 2-time breast cancer survivor since 2011 and currently naturally healing a recent metastatic stage 4 diagnosis. So she's a loving mother to her miracle baby, spiritual teacher, and practitioner. She is of the belief that we can heal ourselves and is living testimony of that. So Mahala, thank you so much for being here today.
I just am so honored. I just love you so much.
Well, Mahala, oh my goodness, we've got a lot to cover today, and we're going to really dive into the quantum healing that you do. So let's go ahead and jump right into that. What do you think?
That sounds amazing.
Awesome. All right. So can you tell the listeners who may not be familiar with quantum healing hypnosis or QHHT what that is, what that's all about?
So quantum healing hypnosis technique was created by Dolores Cannon, who is I think a pioneer. I mean, she literally created her own modality from the beginnings of just regular hypnosis. And she, through just years of doing sessions and creating her own modality, she came up with the ideal way, or her ideal way, of working with someone in the subconscious realm, which the subconscious is our higher self. They're called the oversoul. So it can be it's different than like the conscious mind or the ego. So the ego, as we know, kind of gets in our way and that sort of thing. And so tapping into that realm or that subconscious or higher self is where all the answers can be found, where we can find all the answers, where we can get information we wouldn't consciously have access to. And the theta state is the state that we work in. So regular hypnosis works in like the lower levels, like the alpha level. And so you're not as deep into a hypnosis state. And then the theta level is a natural brainwave state. So everyone can be hypnotized. People always say, I can't be hypnotized. And I laugh because it's a brainwave state. So the theta state is the state right before you go to sleep and right when you wake up. So it's a perfect time to access information just in that short period of time when you're just kind of groggy, when you're waking up or going to sleep.
Right. Yeah, like that dream state, right? Almost.
Yes.
Okay.
And I can elaborate more, but that's like kind of a nutshell of there's so much you could talk about with 2HHT.
Yeah. I personally, I love it. And that's part of why we're diving into it. I find it very fascinating. So really, really cool. Thank you for that. And then now this is something that we're diving into a little bit new. This is also a different technique within that idea. It's called beyond quantum healing. Can you tell me about that and what the difference is between the two?
So BQH is Beyond Quantum Healing. It was created by Candace Boldman, who is actually a student or was a student of Dolores Cannon, the late Dolores Cannon. Of course, we honor
Yeah.
her in traditions. I have much respect for that woman, even beyond the veil. So,
Yes.
Candace Braverman found that there was a little bit of flexibility that she was wanting in her modality. So she offers a heart-centered approach. It's very intuitive. So it's a lot of times people like yourself can mold in their own modalities or their own intuitive services into the offering. So it's really flexible in that way. It offers a heart-centered approach. There's some other tools and new things that she added to it. I feel like the Lord Cannon's training is just such a good foundation. The
Hmm.
one biggest difference with Beyond Plus and Healing into HHT is that you cannot do, or Dolores Cannon does not want you to do sessions online. And that's
Oh,
kind of
okay.
an ethical thing that he has said like you wouldn't be able to be there for the client if something happened, say that, technology got disconnected. I think that what Candace Provolin found was that we are quantumly connected. So we don't have to be physically in the same space. So I honor the QHHT and only offer
Yeah.
that in person because I feel like it's something that is like a tradition, it's an honoring of the modality. And so if I do offer a different session online, it'll be BQH. But there's so much flexibility there. It's like it kind of looks like QHHT, it's the same
Right.
foundation. And then you can use your intuitive services in there. And it's just, there's not so much a script with BQH.
Right.
And
Okay. Very
none of us
interesting.
don't need one.
Right, right. So I love that you do both so that you can have, best of both worlds in different ways to
Mhm.
reach a greater audience. So that's wonderful. So now let's go a little bit more into the QHHT stuff. So what initially drew you to QHHT and motivated you to become a practitioner?
So I was working as a massage therapist, and one of my coworkers, she said to me, "You should do, you should do hypnosis." And I said, "What?" It was just like really random. No, no, I wasn't really asking. She just offered that information. She goes, "It's really fascinating," and to be honest, I've always thought about it, which is interesting. And
Yeah,
there was a particular person that I was connected to years ago who does subconscious work. He does something involved subconscious surgery. And I've been kind of looking for the right modality for years and years. So I'm really surprised I didn't stumble upon QHHT or the Lost Panic earlier. I may
hmm,
have in the past, but it just didn't come into my like conscious reality. And
right.
so here comes QHHT, and she said, you should try QHHT because you get a lot of disability. And I thought, oh, what the heck? And sometimes, I'll be honest, I don't really research things sometimes. I'm like a fire sign. So I'm like, let's do this.
Jump right in, right?
No, no hesitation, no research. Just see where I land, right? And so
Right.
I signed up and oh my gosh, I fell in love. Absolutely fell in love. So I did my session. And then I found my QHHC practitioner, Jessica, here locally, which, I did a session after I did the training or started doing training. And in retrospect, I don't know if that was the best. Like,
Why do you say that?
um, because sometimes my brain likes to think too much. And so my
Oh,
think is not ideal, right? And so
right.
I think sometimes as practitioners or people that are very in-depth thinkers and feeler, we sometimes commit in our own way. And so in my
Yeah.
first session, I was thinking, well, I already know how to do this. And I'm like, be quiet.
Ah, I see. Okay, I
You know
completely
what I'm
understand what you
saying?
mean.
So it's like
Yeah.
I knew too much. It's like I was feeling like I was being tricked, but I wasn't because I was showing up for it. It was that
Yes.
conscious mind just being, he was a little stubborn in my first session, and
I guess we all battle with that, don't we?
he do, and I was
Yeah.
actually kind of surprised because I was so willing. You know, it was
Yeah.
strange,
Well, I mean, we're still here. We're still doing the human thing, right? So it
right?
makes perfect sense.
You have to hear about the cats. The cats were helping me in the session. Like Jessica's cats. Were meowing at me and sitting on me, and she had to pull them off me so you can hear them going,
Oh my goodness. Wow. Well, cats are very intuitive themselves, so it makes sense that they were trying to help you along through this, relax you
yeah,
and get you going. So that makes perfect sense to me. I mean, being a cat owner myself, I know exactly what you're talking about. And any of
yeah,
those
my
cat owners
husband.
out there can definitely identify with that.
Yeah.
Now I want to see here. Now, can you share a transformative experience from one of your sessions that deeply resonated with you? Is that something that you can do?
Yeah, I have a few sessions that I posted on my YouTube. So, like, if I get permission from the client, so I can share some of those sessions. Um, One in particular that popped into my mind was a woman who had lupus, and she had like unbearable pain, and she's literally tried everything with doctors, everything. And she was so fed up. Even the doctors would be like, "Oh God, here she comes again,"
Oh gosh,
because she'd
poor
go to the
thing.
ER. I know, it was awful. And I thought, this woman's an alien. I already know. Like, I get like a intuitive hit sometimes. Like, I can just
Yeah.
feel like starseed, alien. Like, sometimes I'll look at someone that's I'm like, that guy's like a Merlin. Like, I don't know. I get these feelings or
We're
knowing.
gonna have to dive into this another time, like seriously on that intuitive feeling that you get.
It is like sometimes I'll know just based on being around someone for 5 seconds, and it will be
Mm,
like I get a. I mean, I don't think we're one thing. But I think that sometimes like that you get a certain energy, like
yeah.
imprint or energy. Like I don't know. I know you would understand what I'm talking about with that. But I'm like, oh, that girl's a fairy.
Yeah, we carry that vibration with us through time.
Yeah, that makes
Absolutely.
sense. So anyway, her lupus was terrible. And so we went in and she was, I mean, not only that, she was also very depressed, confused, frustrated, not
Hmm.
happy. There was a lot of emotional things blocking her.
Yeah.
And so she came in. Um, she's since reported that she has not taken medication since her session. And she's
Wow.
doesn't even remember the last time she's had medication since she was 11 years. And
Wow.
she's
Now, I
happy.
assume she's checked with the doctors on this and they're like, "Oh my goodness. What?"
I think she was done with doctors for us. But yes,
Oh,
I'm not a
interesting.
doctor. Yes, I'm not a
Yeah.
doctor. So I don't
Yeah.
ever tell people like don't take medication, but their higher self might say don't take medication. And so
Right.
she was guided to do that. And sure, she said she actually let me know that today that she hasn't had any medication since. Um,
Wow.
and she's happy. She's actually doing like one of the biggest art shows she's ever done. That's doing
Wow.
that soon. So she's really stepped into her purpose more fully. And
Yeah.
she what's interesting about her session is like, in the Men in Black where they open up the guy and there's, the Orion's belt with the cat and the little tiny alien in his
Yes.
head. Well,
Yes.
she apparently was a little alien in Elon Musk's head on the left
How
side,
interesting.
guiding him. She said he was very overwhelmed. So we actually tapped into Elon in his session. in her session, and she gave us some. So that's on my YouTube channel.
Oh my goodness. Well, Elon, if you're out there listening, we've got some interesting information in your head.
Well, I said, "Oh my gosh, I've always thought you were an alien." And what's funny, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, I love that guy, and he's so interesting, and he's an alien." And I'm like, "Yeah, he's a total alien." So, and the other cool thing was that she was connected to all of the ocean life.
Mm,
So there were these underwater ocean beings. They were like almost like light beings, but they've actually never been discovered. They were afraid of people and humans on Earth. And
yeah.
they hide in somewhat kind of like the Midwest where they have a silo. They were kind of like in this hide in the silo or like have an underwater community. And she said she could feel like the sadness and the pollution. She's kind of like an earth guardian type.
Yeah.
She has visions of like collecting and doing art sculptures out of plastic bottles and like just helping the earth. So I think she's just
Wow.
really a magical creature and she just needed to be reminded of that.
Yeah, and that's a really cool way to do it. I mean, and to go into this hypnotic state and hear it from yourself, so to speak, it's
Yeah.
really neat. And you're the guide, you're guiding them through all of this process where they discover, parts of themselves that have been kind of hidden, right? So,
Yeah.
what an interesting story.
Elizabeth, and there was one other one I was thinking of that was really interesting. I had one of my first like practice sessions. This was before like I did the free 25 session to prior to a QHHT. But
Oh,
sometimes you have a script in QHHT and they don't follow the script. And my experience is they never follow the script. But I get aliens, I attract starseeds, aliens, all the really weird things, which I love. So I'm not afraid of
yes.
those things. I embrace them
Right.
fully. And he went off flying. I was like, hello, where's your cloud? Okay.
So you don't end up with all of what they're calling the potato picker lives. You end up with all these very fascinating
I know.
experiences. So I think that says a lot about where you're at too, and that you're open for that and that you're willing to express
Mhm.
yourself in an everyday way to people that that they're safe with you. And so it makes sense that they would be attracted to you as, a practitioner as well. So that's very, very interesting. And I love
Really
that about you that you're able to share that and be yourself and people can see that. So that's really what we're trying to do here too on this podcast is make, normalize the speak of this, be able to talk about this. So thank you for telling me about that.
totally.
So
It's like this. I posted on my social media today about my dream of this transformer being in my dream. And I thought, but who's to say that is it real or what is normal? I said my dreams aren't
right.
normal, but how do we know we think like this is normal, right? But I don't
Yeah.
really think that's true. I think that we are waking up to the fact that we are so much bigger. We are so much more out there beyond just this reality that we see.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, one of the things that, because people aren't possibly familiar with this process, um, how do you prepare yourself and clients during a QHT, sorry, before or during the QHHT session to ensure a safe and productive environment or experience for them? What does that procedure look like?
So I'm still kind of working that out myself. Like I would say that, I mean, I prepare them, but I would like to prepare them in a way where I have like, okay, here's your email, here's a YouTube video. I
Right.
want to eventually get there. But for now, I think practicing meditation is extremely important before your session.
Okay.
Because if someone doesn't know how to meditate or visualize, because literally it starts with visualization, but sometimes people think, well, I can't really visualize very good. I'm like, well, what other senses? You're really using your clairs, your psychic senses, really.
Right.
Um, so you're using your clairaudience, like so. sometimes I may not be visual, but I have a sense. I have a strong sense a lot of times. And so I'm
Right.
like, if they don't see something, that's okay. I try to just make sure they're open, just be completely open and have no expectation
Right.
because expectations are kind of like will keep us from knowing. It's like you can almost block yourself because you're like, you want it to be in my first session. So I wanted it to be this really crazy session. And I had kind of an emotional past life sort of situation. So I was still left going, wait, I know there's more. Why was it just why was the first one like that?
Yeah.
Right? That was my expectation. So I just bring that up because just know that there's a reason, you have to trust the process. And so I remind people, trust yourself, trust the process. And it's important to feel safe with your practitioner so that you can be open. It's like, tell me everything and just connect with me so that we can really go deep and we can really, like, it's only going to help them emotionally, spiritually, physically release whatever is blocking them from living their best life, with their authentic self here.
Yeah. So you're building a safe, comfortable environment while talking to them and connecting with them and getting them prepared, I guess, in a calmer way. And you would recommend meditation for that beforehand, like
Yeah.
the day before or just in general.
So I usually have a consultation beforehand to kind of get them educated about things. And I have them
Right.
prepare their questions because even though they prepare their questions, we're going to go over the questions because I always find that they're missing pieces. And I'll be like,
Right.
oh, they need to ask about this. And so sometimes if I'm very thorough and they be here, they're going to be like, I don't have any more questions. Because
Yeah.
I want them to get the most they can out of their session and I want their life to transform. So it's like we're setting the intention up front and
Yes.
we're having a consultation, not to just, it's almost like preparing them in that moment. So it's interesting because one client I had before her session, she went and bought striped clothing. So she came in, she had her session, and she was a star, a star with legs that were striped. And she would jump in portals and go to different dimensions and realms. And I said, do you realize when she left, I said, do you realize you're wearing stripes? And she's like, oh my God, I am. She goes, I hate stripes. I
Oh,
don't
how
even know
funny.
why I bought stripes. So that's the thing is that once we make a decision, once our higher self leads us to our session, our SMHT session, we our higher self is already working for us. We're already being prepared. So there's a little bit of guidance that I offer,
Right.
but the higher self is already preparing them. And sometimes you'll see clients back out or they'll
Because they're not quite
reschedule.
ready.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Well, that makes sense. That makes sense.
They're, so I trust the timing now. And sometimes they need to be, I've even had sessions line up with people like ancestors that have passed on
Mm-hmm.
that are connected to them. I've had, loved ones come in to the session. I've had like specific dates where they were scheduled and rescheduled. Like it was like there was no
Interesting.
coincidence. So it's like a higher self's preparing, but I do really think that the safe container is so important. And I also am very respectful of people and like what they want to share. So I only share like YouTube, the scenes, the interesting scenes, not the personal information on YouTube,
Right.
like to higher self. I think that's a little too personal.
Right. I can see that. I can totally see that. in your opinion, what distinguishes QHHT from other healing modalities, and what unique benefits does it offer? Obviously, besides this interesting story that you can find within yourself, what as a healing process, what does that look like?
Well, I feel like so I mean, I've tried a lot of healing modalities myself, and I
Mhm.
feel like QHHT is like next level. I really do. I I haven't found I haven't found a lot of other modalities that are that transformational. Like I almost feel like it's like this huge quantum shift or quantum that we can now
Okay.
access. That I don't think that in the past that would have been possible because of the planetary, just the energetics of the planet, for lack of a better word. Like I feel like
Okay.
the old system or the 3D we wouldn't be able to access that. So now we have so much more ability to access that quantum realm and
Hmm.
really take that leap. But I also find that like psychic sessions, like with yourself, are important for other reasons. So
Right.
sometimes those sessions offer things that will come up in our QHHG session. Maybe we're not ready at the time. Maybe it's a
Hmm.
missing piece. So there's other modalities that can kind of fill in the gaps
Right.
and offer guidance. But the QHHT is like you move from here to here, like boom. And I don't even ask for a review after their session right away because they still haven't, or their conscious mind hasn't quite caught up with what's happening.
Right.
And they won't for like a while. Maybe it can take them uh 6 months, maybe to a year. And what they see is the change is already happening, but what happens is their life changes. So it takes time for
Yeah, it's progress.
the 3D to materialize into their life.
Okay.
They still
Now,
they
now,
still message me.
oh, I bet they do. I bet they do. Now, have you used this for your healing? Because you in your introduction here, I did tell everybody that you have been undergoing your own diagnosis here this last year. And have you been using this technique to heal yourself now as
I
well?
did. I did. And I've done actually 3 sessions. And I would continually do more QHHC sessions, but that's because I'm a curious person and I love learning. I love learning
Mm-hmm.
more and more about the quantum realm and what's possible and the esoteric and just and piecing all of spirit's messages together. I find it so fascinating. And but for breast cancer specifically, I feel like yes, the higher self can instantly heal someone, right, in their session, but that may not happen if it's not for their highest good, is
Right.
what I found. And I find that everyone is individual in their journey and what is so I found like soul contracts that are people are going through and there's a reason why they have to work things out. So just because you do a session, you may find that the reason where you're entangled with someone is because you're working something out that needs to be worked out. And so like you just have to go through that experience to get to the other
Right.
side, like the work that's needed. So it offers so much of a deeper perspective for that person. Every person is different. And so like I found that we can't like say, oh, well, it's this for this person because it's always different for every person. So for me, specifically with cancer, with breast cancer, um, what my session just said that I was made to go through the experience, but I think it's for higher progress. And that's kind of what came through.
Right.
So isn't it always like the people that are like really good people, they're helping others, they're doing great things. You see them getting these like major illnesses and battling these really hard things. It's not the like people that are like horrible, you know? They you
It's like a weird a weird situation there.
right? You don't see like the criminals or the people that like you see these people like transmuting and optimizing and overcoming these great obstacles while there I feel like that people pay attention when it's someone that is like a good person, like a good soul.
Yeah,
It's like so sometimes I feel like we contract to experience and part of my life purpose, what came through was that I was meant to overcome this lifetime. But here's reasons why.
interesting. Yeah. Well, and you can find that information out during your session as well from your
Right,
higher self or your
right.
subconscious. I'm glad you've been able to find your path with it and realize where you're going with it as an individual. And that's I think that's the message here is that no matter what with it, whatever comes out of it is going to be what you needed at that time. So that makes sense. That makes
I
sense.
want to elaborate too on that a little bit because I feel like I've done like kind of follow up. I did a 5 minute session with Jessica one time, and I got that they were working on me, and the cancer was related to heart
Mm,
healing, emotional
yeah.
healing. So I can endure a lot of trauma in this lifetime and abuse type, trauma abuse in various forms. But
Mm,
I feel like sometimes it's not, it may be like we're sensitive and we're taking on that energy and we need to learn how to not take on that energy or something.
right.
And also, it could be that because the cancer diagnosis that I had last year, it's healed 80%. Who's to say that QHHT wasn't helpful in that process either? Because it
Right,
could,
speeding that process up.
yeah. I've noticed there's been some positive aspects to me going through this experience with my family dynamics and friend, loved ones, and also just being supported um in other ways, like physically supported. So that's been interesting. So I wonder
Yeah,
if there's like other reasons for that.
possibly. I mean, there's so much that surrounds every message, every access point in a
Yeah,
lifetime, and it's not
yeah,
just one answer. It's multi-layered always. That's what I've found, is it's very
yeah,
multi-layered. So it makes sense that something like this, this procedure, that the way that you use this technique, can peel back some of these layers for people so that they can start to see a little more clearly as to why things ended up the way they did or whatever, where they're at. Now,
totally.
I know you're highly intuitive as well, and I wanted to ask you this: what role do you believe that intuition plays in as part of these QHHT sessions, both for you as a practitioner and your client? So, do you have any insight on that?
So, yes, I feel like it's really important for practitioners to use with. I don't think that the last candidates say that it was like required,
Mm-hmm.
but there's a level of okay, so if you're entering the quantum field, it can get very complicated.
Yeah,
Now,
I bet.
I, I will say that it's okay if you go to a practitioner that isn't maybe considering themselves intuitive, because if you're guided to go to that person, maybe that's where you're at. The QHHT practitioner will never get more than they're able to handle. Their
Mm-hmm.
frequency, they're attracting in what they can handle. And so the more you can handle, the more you'll attract in those particular clients. That's why there is no competition in
Right.
business either, because we attract where we're at, where we need it meets us where we are. So that's so
Mm-hmm.
fascinating. So you don't have
I
to
love
worry
that.
about. But I think intuition is very, very helpful because say someone is so sometimes I get visions of where someone is at in their session, even before they tell me what they're seeing. So that it's interesting. Like I'll know that they're like in a desert, for example.
So
And
it's
I'm
like
like,
you're there with them in a way.
you really are. And it's like you're guiding them, right? And then the other thing is actually had clients ask me to touch them during the session. I had a girl kind of spinning really fast. A lady, um, she was in the cosmos
Yeah.
and
Spinning
she
around
might
and
have been in
around.
a portal. Um, but she asked me to hold her hand. And
Mm-hmm.
so intuitively I knew that I needed to like get her grounded and get her a little bit slowed down. So, but again, I also think that those things may not come up in a session with someone, right? They're not gonna.
Right. If they weren't led to that particular practitioner because that wasn't something that they were able to
Yeah.
or wanted to connect with, then it would be given to them that way. That makes perfect sense to me. Thank you, Mahala, again for sharing your insights today. For our listeners interested in exploring QHHT or BQH further or booking a session with you, where can they find out more information about you and your practice?
So right now they can find me on my website, which is www.blueheronhealingcenter.com. But I also have a Facebook page, Blue Heron Healing Arts. There is another Blue Heron Healing Arts, so you have to find the one in Pensacola. And
Okay.
Instagram is the same. And then I have a YouTube channel too, but a few sessions that people can listen to that are very fascinating. And that is a way of the blue heron.
Okay. Now, thank you again, Mahala, for enlightening us with your expertise today and these fun experiences. And to our listeners, remember to subscribe to Spirits Operator Podcast for more captivating discussions. So until next time, keep exploring, everyone. And thanks again, Mahala.
Thank you.